Welcome to the budget hearing for May the 20th, 23. This is our fourth meeting. We have been working very hard on this budget. But I do want to start the meeting by saying that we are here today to do one of the most important tasks that we are elected to do, and that is to spend the city's money wisely. I have received a lot of calls. Talked to people in the restaurants and in stores, and by your appearance here today, I think everyone is concerned. Everyone is hurting, we know that, trying to make ends meet. Just a little bit of thought here that we need to remember is that the median household income for Fayetteville is $43,000. That means 50% of the households earn less than that. People are concerned and they're upset, and they want to know what they will get in return. We must ask ourselves as the board, have we spent the money wisely? Is it fair to put it on the backs of the property owners? Let me tell you, we have some of the best employees here in Fayetteville. They are dedicated, most are dedicated to their job. They love where they work. Everyone is taught, in all sectors of employment, they're talking about this salary survey because, you know, the wages are off, and we hate to say it, but a lot of it's because of COVID. We're trying to forget that word, but a lot of it is because of COVID. We must remember we did not get in this situation overnight, and we're not going to get out overnight. So therefore, we must plan. I have spoken to several mayors in the surrounding areas, and they're in the same situation that we are. But most of them are looking at a 2 to 3 year plan to get their employees up to this survey level. We are not doing our due diligence if we do not take a long, hard look at this problem and plan for it. The disparity of wages must be addressed. I support giving our lower paid employees up to the survey level first. This is the area where we have the largest turnover. And then we can move to the next level and the next level. This is my personal opinion. Each board member has their own. Today we must make some hard decisions that concerns all of the people. With that said, I will turn our meeting over to Finance Director Jamie Owen. And Jamie, thank you for the long, hard hours. I know that you have spent on this. You and your team have worked very hard and spent many hours. And y'all have done a wonderful job, so I want to say thank you. And with that, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay. I have before you the calculation sheet that we've been using as far as trying to determine what the increase could be and then how that allocation would be spread. So with the help and guidance of the board, I'd like to just open it up for any suggestions and use your input on looking and to see what calculations you'd like to see using this spreadsheet.
We, part of this study, well, not study, but part of this budget we kind of got into here. There's part of it that we kind of looked at that the fire department and the police department brought to us. The fire department in February said that they wanted to apply for a grant to get 3 new firemen, which they very well, they need 3 new firemen. They need them, but, and I remember at that time stating that where we're at with all of our budgets, going into the budget, any new employees with benefits and all the equipment and everything, it would take a certain number of pennies on the property tax to cover that, because it's not there right now. I remember for sure, and they know that, fire department knows that. Then, on the fire department side, I kept hearing, and didn't really know, but I've been hearing this for quite a while. And I didn't understand how it could happen until finally I just asked flat out, I want to know how this can happen. Their salaries, now I'm just talking about the fire department right now. I'll move on a little bit here. But on their salaries, I kept hearing, well, even though the pay scale says they hire in at $15 an hour, whatever, for what, 15.47, somewhere along that line per hour. I think it, excuse me, did you say something?
No, sir.
Okay, I think, so I couldn't understand why I kept hearing, well, they're only making $12 an hour, or 13, or something, 11 something. I couldn't figure that out, because I didn't know. So I asked why is that? So the answer we got at the last meeting now, this is the answer we got was, well, actually what happens is, they end up working about 106 hours and getting paid for, I guess, 80 or whatever, how that works out. And that's all the paperwork was given and everything, and kind of how it was showed in. I don't have them with me, but I'm sure that Jamie's got them. And that didn't seem fair to me. So taking a look at the three new employees they was asking for, versus what can we do to make their salary more fair, and I think that we worked up the equation to get it up to $14 an hour, if I remember right, somewhere in that range. The fire chief, I asked him, I said, look, we got a salary situation going on here, and I said, you're asking for three new employees if you get that grant. And I said, I don't know if you're going to get both of them or not, if you even get one. He said, if we can get our employees on a pay scale to where they're making somewhere in the area of, and Jamie can explain this better than I can, I think $14 an hour, whatever. He said, if we have to give up those three employees, we get that grant. He said, I'm okay with it. If you can't get both, I'm okay. Well, what's happening right now in the fire department is that him and the assistant fire chief is filling in, and they do a 24-hour rotation whenever they fill in for an employee's office, 24 hours. So I asked him, I said, well, what do y'all get for that? He said, we don't get anything for it. No pay, no extra pay or anything. They might get to take some time off. So I told him, well, look, I said, if you don't get the three employees, that means the more likely y'all going to have to keep on operating like you are. He said, that's what we want to do. He said, I care more about our employees across the board than I do keeping myself at home or whatever. So in that part of it, Jamie worked up the finance director worked up some numbers, and that'd be about 8 cents. On 8 cents on the profit tax to resolve that problem. Now that's not counting the three additional ones, because that would probably be another, I'm not sure, but it's probably another in that range, probably that much. So I just tell you, I'm kind of out on them three new employees if we can take care of the wage situation for, as I just heard, the lower paid employees across the board in that one department right there. Then we had another request that's going on right now, and the police chief decided that he wanted to go for a grant. Now the fire department's got 20 employees. That's counting the chief, the assistant chief. They don't have any secretaries. They don't have any. They don't have any extra people. Period. 20 firemen, 5 fires, counting the chief. Police department's got 31 total. So they got a couple in the office. They got 3 investigators. They got 3 SROs, and anyway, they got, I believe, 16 patrolmen, and they got 2 commanders, a chief, and I think they've got a lieutenant along that line. So they got a total of 31 positions Now, they hardly ever have 31 employees because they have such a turnover. They can't maintain 31 employees because they could be out 2 or 3 at any time because the police department is like the fire department. It's a constant turnover, constant. Last I heard, the fire department was down 3. I don't know about now. I don't know what the police department's down right now because it's continuous. So the chief was asking to do a grant asking for three additional employees. Well, they got, I mean, a lot of those employees over there, they don't have the highest pay scales in the world either. And with those 3 additional employees would mean 3 additional vehicles, would be 3 everything. And that would add, of course, to what we're looking at, certain more sense. I don't know exactly, probably another 8, somewhere in that range. Because eventually what happens is, even though you get a grant and it'll take care of it will take care of most of the pay for 3 years in the fire department. Some of the pay, quite a bit of it in the police department for a certain period of time. But then you've got those employees that are there. And, you've done invested in them, all the training and everything, so you're not going to let them go. If we have them, we're not going to say work 3 years or 4 years in the case of the fire department, police department, and then tell them you're out. That wouldn't be fair to any employee. So, of course, I don't know if they get the grants, it comes back before the board or whatever. But right now, I have not looked in this budget at funding 6 new positions. I've not looked at that in this particular budget because I think the priorities ought to be in a different direction, more broad direction. Last I heard was down 4 in the sanitation department. So we're having these issues like I'm sure a lot of people has, but also we're seeing in these salary surveys or the salary survey, although I really have not been in the survey and picked this, and this. I took a look at it, just kind of looked through it, and I saw how far off it was anyway. Turned it back over to the people who really went through it and done the main part of the study on it and everything. So I'm just stating, just for me only, and I don't know what would happen if these positions comes back before the board to vote, but I'm not for funding them in this budget. We got right now we're at 70 cents, and my opinion is we got to get it down. That's my opinion. We got to get that 70 cents down. How far down? That's neither here nor there, I guess. But at the 70 cents, where we kind of talked about last time, those 6 employees was not even in that number. I mean, if you put those 6 employees to that 70, it's going to jump way on up there. So I'm not for doing that. I am for pushing that 70 cents down. A little over 10 years ago, I believe that our property tax rate was about $1.30. And about 11 years ago, and then 10 years ago, we went to $1.65, and then a few years ago, back down to $1.50 because of reappraisal. So right now, we're $1.50 because of the reappraisal. Now, of course, whatever we end up at, if we have another reappraisal, and these property values ends up real high, it will push that number on down because you can't have a tax increase or keep a tax increase on reappraisal. That's not, the state will not allow that. You've got to basically adjust. I think the state really does adjust it. You've got to adjust to account for that. So you can't use a reappraisal to keep people's taxes up just because their home value might have went up. I know there's been some concerns about that, but it's just like this last time we had a reappraisal, it pushed our rate from $1.65 down to $1.50. Well, that sounds good, but we still got the same amount of money because of the value of the property. That's kind of how that works. And, I've kind of looked at, I've looked at different scenarios and listened to the first one thing and the other, and I don't think we can deal with 70 cents. I think that needs to go down. That's my opinion. To what point? I've got a point that I'm at. And also what I'm having to do is do my best to try to balance the city versus the county. Now, we live in the city, I live in the city, and I pay both taxes. We do. We pay the county tax and we pay the city tax. We also pay wheel tax. Now, we don't get any of that wheel tax. Even though we pay it as a city, we don't get it. That's just state law. I mean, that's not anybody's fault. I think that's state law. It's just how it is. We don't get any of that wheel tax. We depend on the city side. The primary thing we've got to depend on is sales tax and property tax. Cannot raise sales tax without a vote of the people. We tried that back 10 years ago. We wanted to raise, we got to go, we can go up another quarter. We're at 250. 275 is the max. We tried to do that and we put it out in the public. It's either one of the two, the sales tax or property tax. If the sales tax had passed, of course, 70-80% of the people coming in here from out of the county would have carried the load in that. The city still wouldn't pass it because people don't like taxes. I mean, I don't like taxes. But it didn't pass, so that put us in a position to where at that time. So in that period of time, it's been 10 years since of course we know, I mentioned one of the things that we had to deal with the wheel tax. Same thing with the county property taxes. We have no control over that. They just set it wherever they want to set it. I think I saw somewhere they're looking at $1 a dime or somewhere along that range is what I saw. And I'm not really, other than that, I don't really know much about it. So, right now, after working on things since their last meeting and being kind of where my mindset is right now on where I think we need to be, I'm out with it trying to fund them 6 new employees right now. I don't see how we can do it. I really don't. Not saying I don't need them. I'm just saying it's going to cost. And we would be looking at property tax increase if we felt like we could fund quite a group of employees. And I wish they had them. I really do. I think they probably need them, especially the fire department. But right now, I can't. For the taxpayers' benefit, I can't do that. And that's what's on the end over there on that chart over there. So I've kind of worked my way down from 70 cents. I'm pretty well down to 50 cents is where I'm at right now, and trying to take everything and see what we can. I think we can phase out a lot of operation. I think we can handle the operating mostly in the house. We would operate the same as we'd operate if we didn't even have a tax increase either way. Capital, we don't have to build some capital. I mean, just an example. Now the fund balance is strong right now. Don't think the fund balance is not strong. It is, but moving forward, and what's happened in the last 3 years is we've been living on grants and we've been living on American Rescue funds, millions of dollars worth, quite well, a little over 2, I believe, in the federal funds, and a certain amount of grants that we kept using and pulling down and all. And we did have to match those grants with 20% or whatever. And we've been able to get by about the last 3 years probably without looking at these taxes very hard. Well, the grants is gone. The American Rescue funding is phased out, pretty well gone. So in looking forward for the stability, a tax increase is the hardest vote it is to make. It really is. It's not an easy vote to make at all. But if you look at what's required to maintain a certain fund balance that the comptroller can be happy with, and if you look forward to if you look at moving on and dealing with the situations, escalating situations that we've had to deal with, I can't see how we can walk away with nothing. But I can see how, just speaking for myself, I can see how we can get down from 70 cents to 50 And of course, on the other side of we don't have any control on anybody else, what they do. We only have control on what we do. And that's pretty well where I'm at right now. Thank you.
The percentage, would you like to give a percentage for your 50, or how would you like to spread it so I can fill it in, just so
Well,
the board can see?
You know, we absolutely, we don't have a lot of choice in the capital. I would like to see at least 15 cents of that go to capital. Now, that's $322,000 if I remember right. And one of the reasons for that is right now on capital, what we're facing, we're in pretty good shape in like the police department. We're getting into a rotation to where we could keep those vehicles kind of maintained and traded off. I think we're going to try to trade about every 8 years now if we can, to keep us out of what we got into before with those little Impalas that they couldn't keep on the street. So we're getting three brand new. We're getting three of the brand new, well, not Tahoes, but the police vehicles, whatever they're getting this time. Three of those is being paid for by the American Rescue Funds. Local taxpayers does not have to pay for them. We got two in the budget to take care of in the budget. That's happened a lot, quite a bit this year. We're facing a situation with the fire department that the fire chief has got us ready for. And he's pretty well said, and I've come to depend on this fire chief pretty good what he says. He's saying that in 2 to 3 years, he's just given a board a warning up front. In 2 to 3 years, and I don't know the last time we got a ladder truck. I don't know how that truck's got a lot of age on it. I don't remember. He says in 2 to 3 years, we can very well be looking at a ladder truck. Well, since I've been an alderman, we've replaced 2 pumpers. Replaced one last year, I believe, but we've never replaced that ladder truck. And he said, we said, well, how much? He said, well, more than likely $2 million to 2.2, I believe he said, in that range. It's hard to write a check for $2 million in a small town like we are. So that, and also the garbage truck, we're running on, we're trying to keep the 2 garbage trucks on the road as long as we possibly can. But we're probably going to be looking at a garbage truck at some point. Don't know when. Hopefully not in the next year or two, but we're going to plan for it, and they're expensive. So when we're looking at $2 million possibly for a ladder truck, and we're looking at, I don't know what a garbage truck costs now. I don't remember what the numbers was on it. Then we're looking at a situation where in capital we need to get it built up, and right now it's not all that great in capital. Fund balance overall's good. Capital not so good. 160-something thousand in it right now, I believe. Is that right, Jamie? Somewhere in that.
Estimated the way the budget is right now, at the ending of FY24,
Right.
the balance would be around 160.
So, and that's the reason I say that we certainly need to. We need. I think we need to at least get 15 cents, and that would generate about 322,000.
322.
So many dollars.
So what are you going to do on the other two, the person on the operating?
On the operating, where I'm at on operating is continue to operate just like we've been operating. Control our cost on operating is kind of where I'm at. I'm speaking for myself here now. I'm kind of on that in kind of the salary situation. I'm good on trying to get these salaries where they need to be. I mean, and the only way I know to get them where they need to be is for a salary survey that was done, how that survey came
Let me
back.
ask, excuse me, when was that salary survey done? The information, we haven't, did anybody here get that information?
We don't get no information from
Other than when we started our budget talks, that's when I heard about a salary survey.
It was
When did
done-
that take place?
It was in 2022.
Who sent that off? Did we ever get
But
it?
we didn't hear about it for
Didn't
this
hear it.
budget, about what the salary survey
Oh, I knew that
entailed.
I knew there'd been a survey done myself, and I took it, looked through it, I didn't go into it in detail. I didn't go position to position. I didn't do all that. The best I remember it was for large entities, medium-sized entities, and small-sized entities. I think that this is based on the small. It is based on small compared with the small across the board. But as far as any details within any of certain positions or anything like that, I didn't go into that because that was going to take a lot of work and administration was going to have to do. But that's all I know about the salary survey.
So what do the other board members think?
We discussed last time, I know you keep saying police and fire, we said we weren't gonna do that. As much as we would like to have hired 3 or 4, 3 and 3, didn't we agree not to move those?
I'm not for that.
Right, we already agreed, so we already talked about that, so I don't know why that keeps repeating. We already discussed we aren't gonna go forward with that because we couldn't afford it. We would love to have the new officers and love to have new firemen, but we can't do it. So with that 30% over there in the capital and 70% in personnel, that's got to do with the 2 grants on the right-hand side, right? Over the fire and the police.
The numbers from these 3 columns, they won't have anything to do with these on this side.
That's just to build
That's-
new capital, and if we do the salary increase, that's not for anything.
It has nothing to do with the grants that we discussed that we're not going to move forward with in the first place.
But right now, this is the one we're at right now.
Right.
Yeah, since we've decided not to move forward
Yeah.
with these, we won't be discussing
But,
columns L
You
through
know,
O.
That's more of a point of reference, I think, just to
In the
let us,
beginning.
in the beginning, that was to advise us how much it would cost if, we brought those grants on.
But we already
So,
discussed.
Yes,
We're
we've already
gonna be back.
discussed that. So we're back on, we need to decide,
I can tell
Where
you now
people-
that I'm at 40.
okay?
Well, what was the 34 cents, Mr. Worthy? What was that 34 cents? If you push that 34 cents up, what does that, can we massage that and see what that looks like on time? That's what's needed.
This is what's needed for the salary survey number,
Only. so.
which is currently at the 50 cents. And the way it's divided currently, that puts 35 cents in personnel and 15 cents towards capital.
And I'm definitely for the employees getting some type of raise, but I have been considering what the county is asking versus what we were adding to that. And for citizens on fixed income, that was pretty steep in itself. That's the reason I was wondering if we could look at that around 40. Would that make sense? Would that help us do what we needed to
Well,
do?
put that 40 cents up, or she can see what it goes. Say, what are you talking about putting in capital? 20%? And
Are
then
you wanting it all in salary, or you want
No,
it
absolutely
in salary and capital?
we have to put some in capital.
Between salary and capital, but about.
We can't short capital, though, we've got.
Yeah, exactly. I was looking at 40, maybe 46% in capital. I mean, sorry, salaries.
what that would be is, according to my figures, if you did 15 on capital, we've got to build that capital. And if you did the 25 on salaries, well, eight of that would go to the fire department, straighten out their problems. We desperately need that. We desperately need to get that fixed because it is not fair to that fire department to work those guys for $12 an hour. That would leave 17 cents for everything else on salaries. That's what I'm looking at.
Well, I think we have to look at all of our lower paid employees, not just the fire
Well,
department. I mean,
oh,
they're
I
gonna
know.
adjust that's gonna be adjusted.
Now, within the survey, every position is looked at individually of what position you're at. So we took the median of the survey and where the survey said each position should be, and then took where that position is as far as on the scale currently, if whatever level you're at, and put you at the level of what the survey shows you should be at. So, if the medians on the fire department, police department, wherever what it shows on the survey is where we brought those positions up to. Now, the fire department, we did do a little bit of a different scale for the fire department based off of prior discussions. And then those are already built into this number with the 34%.
If it touches everybody, we're fixing positions across the board. in the
Public
city.
Works, we're fixing everything.
It, based off whatever the survey is showing currently, which that's a 2022 survey that we're using, this is moving everyone, and, you know, they're all different percentages, it's just based off of whatever percent you are from the survey. So it could be different percentages based off of what position, some are more, some are less.
So in this scenario, you're raising the taxes 40 cents.
Now, I haven't finished with Miss Dorothy
Okay.
yet. Miss Dorothy, you asked for 40, and what was the spread you requested?
46. And go ahead and leave capital at 30.
Okay, so you're
That's
only at
76.
76%, so
Okay.
that would leave, what,
14?
so that would be the 100%. So that would be just off of what you've requested at 46, 30, and 24. So that would be, I just wanted to finish her so she could see her numbers.
Could we not make it at that?
Well, I mean,
I don't want to put anything in operating.
At all? Okay, then.
move it all to capital?
Then move it, the
Capital
rest
and
to
personnel is
capital.
all I wanted to.
Yeah, I'd like
Move
that
the
already
rest
to
to
come out.
capital then, on that
Then if
number.
we're gonna do that, why don't we just go down to the 34 and just see what it comes out to?
Before a decision is made, I just want to remind the board of Jamie's report last time. Even with the budget, we're still in a deficit at 26,000. So we're going to need 1 or 2% in operating just to function,
And
Get
then
it to zero.
to get it to zero.
Yeah, and then as far as operating in capital, I have it broken out this way so that we can see it. However, capital starts out in the operating. So the capital transfer comes from the general fund. So this is kind of giving us a guide of what we could transfer over. So I kind of left it this way so that whatever we put in operating could leave as operating to cover operating expenses, but kind of leave us as a guide of what we could transfer each year. However, they're both going to start out in general fund, so that would leave you flexibility. For some years, we could transfer more, some years we could transfer less. So if you did just want to cover what we're in the negative right now, we could still pull that small dollar amount from this allocation here because it's all going to start in the general fund. Does that make sense to everybody? I have it built this way as 3 buckets because we transfer to capital every year. So in my mind, I think of them as 3 different allocations. You know, you have general operating, and then you have a transfer to capital every year. So this is kind of a guide on how much would you want to, to build up capital. Now, there's nothing that says that you can't transfer more to capital because capital transfers fluctuate year by year.
But once you put it in personnel, it stays in personnel.
Correct. Personnel, once we put a percentage in personnel, that is going to stay there unless someone goes away and they start back at, the beginning of the scale or those kinds of things. But personnel will stay. You have flexibility between operating and capital unless you were to vote a certain cents. Now, if the vote is made that 5 cents, 8, whatever goes towards capital, I would have to do it that way. But if it's not voted that particular way, then you still have the flexibility.
Didn't your email say 1 cent was like $27,000?
It's 26,000 that we're under, just because of the changes that we made to some of the nonprofits and things.
That's just a little over a penny.
Right, so I mean, it's not very
21,400.
much.
1.5 take care of
So
that.
however this
Yeah.
is done at the end, since we are not planning on making any changes to capital. This will stay in the operating fund since we were not, unless the board chooses to, not going to adjust capital, there won't be a transfer to capital. So this will still be covered by leaving it in operating.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with leaving it in operating to be able to carry it to capital.
Yes,
It's just that I want to be sure that we build that capital fund.
correct.
Because if we don't, some board, and not too long down from here is going to be looking for some funding.
Correct. So
It's not
we'll
gonna be
make a
there.
budget amendment to move X amount to capital.
So I'm okay with that. Are you
Yes.
okay with that, Jeff, leaving it flexible? Yeah,
So you're saying, it can't be that, oh, we're not gonna move, I want it to be that we're moving this
Yeah.
much every
Yes,
year.
so you can do that during the budget. So if
what
we
I'm
do
used
it
to.
here, and our number says, 257,879, if we want to move 250,000 to, so it doesn't have to be to the penny unless you vote 7 cents every year goes to whatever. See, like this year, we only moved 241,000. It fluctuates year by year. So during the budget, one of the things that we'll do to finish out is the board can tell me to move X amount to the capital fund, and that will be an adjustment that I'll make this year, and we can move that to the capital fund, and it'll start growing. So that 160 will now become, whatever, and that money can sit in capital fund. Is that?
So like on Miss Dorothy's percentages there, Dorothy, I'm not sure how much you feel like we should transfer every year to capital. Let's just say, just for visual here, 250, is
I
that?
was used to 500 in capital.
But
When we
we
got to
don't-
that point where we could, but 250
Okay,
is not
so
a bad number.
can you adjust her 30% to where it would be about 250 and then the remaining put in operation? Just so you can kind of see, like Jeff says, we want to,
It's gonna be hard to.
well, take it to like 25% and then 5 in operating? What would that put it at?
So it's somewhere between 29 and 29.5%, so 29% gives you 249, 283. But if we want to take 250,000, we'll just budget 250,000.
Yes,
Right
but I was
here
just
on-
showing, okay, it won't let you do it visibly.
Since we're already negative 29,000 right now in operating, if I leave it this way and take 250 as a transfer, that will add to our negative balance because I'll still have to cover it.
Okay.
So I would need at least 30 here to cover the 250 transfer plus what we need.
Tammy, what if we, kind of hitting off what Ms. Dorothy said here, could we do 50% in personnel, 10% in operating, and then 40 in capital? Just kind of coming up with that, what would that bring us to? And that gives you the 100%. So there we are in operating, and then there we are, we're making in capital, and then now the 50% with our employees there, so.
But you're not covering the employees there, it's 723,000 needed, you've got 500,000 is what you just said.
Well,
But we could do that this year. I mean, it won't get everybody up to, was this getting everybody up to survey level? I mean, we might not can do it 100% this year. And, but at least get them further up the survey unless the board was wanting to get everybody whole on this survey. Like I said, we didn't get there in one day. We're not going to correct it in one day. Or we could, but it's going to leave our other balances short.
The number I started with this morning is 52. That's what I came in with. So I'm good with the 50, with the salary having 35,
50 is my
capital
max.
15.
50 would be my max.
You take it away from operating and put it all in the capital, or back in, you're gonna have to put it back in personnel.
If you put 2 cents in operating and go back to where we were at 15%, 15 cents of capital. The cents, so not 2%, 2
oh,
cents.
sorry. Well, it all changes on the calculations.
On 50 cents is what it was earlier, what I'm calculating off of.
50 cents. And you want how much?
So if it's 2 cents there in operating to cover the deficit we've got right now, keep capital where it was at 15 cents, which would put us at about 300 something with fire trucks and with garbage trucks. We've got to have that.
But we're still leaving some, I'd rather put it all on capital as well. That take away the operating.
So that's 30.
And that would give everybody the fair share of the raises, correct, on the personnel.
Well, if you did 2 cents operating and then 33 personnel, where does that put us? 2 cents, so not percent.
Yeah,
cent,
I have to
15.
do a percentage for it to get cents. It's based on, yeah, it's the formula. Okay. I think that's gonna be as close as I can get it.
That's 719 in the personnel.
Well,
That's real
50's not a
close.
long,
Yeah.
50's not a long way from 70 cents, so you're still looking
It's
at,
a pretty long way from 70 cents on the property tax.
I don't think so. I like Dorothy's 40 better than 50. And the employees would still get a raise. We could still work to plan on that survey, and we'd still have money for capital, so.
Run some numbers on 45. Just, so we here in 50s, here in 40s, just throw some numbers out there on 45, just kind of see where we at.
Well, leaving the same spread at 45 would give us these numbers in the middle here.
The white numbers.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, at 45, I think the board's coming closer together in a way. We, from 70 down to 50, 40, 45, and trying to make it fair to everything. I mean,
We'll move that
We
3%
need
back
to
over
be
to that
clear,
personnel.
we were never locked in at 70.
Correct.
That's for sure.
no.
That was false rumor spread.
That 70 was a starting point.
Hey, Jane, yes, go put that 3% if you don't mind in that white, on that 70, that 3% over from operating back in there. That's what there.
We're just trying to cover that deficit she's got right now with that other.
Yeah.
Because operating's going to have to come out of capital anyway, is what she's saying.
We can't move it over from personnel, so we can move it over from capital though, at any time. But if we keep it, would that sound good right there? Is that gonna?
If we put so whatever we have left, we could put 260,000 or whatever as a capital, and we can cover what's showing right now, basically.
And that's at 45.
That's at 45.
That's covering your deficit. That's putting roughly 250 in capital. You're still under on the wages, but it's a start. I mean, it's a place to get us started.
I think what'll happen if we go with that 45 or whatever, 40, 45, or 50, we talk about, well, we'll make it up next year. That won't happen. Whatever we do this year will be what we live with, because the likelihood of this board coming back 2 years in a row and doing a property tax 2 years in a row is pretty well zero. So let's get it down to what we live with and not plan on coming back and hitting this city with another property tax in 2 or 3 years, because I'm not going to be for it, flat out. I'm okay with doing something right now. I'm not okay with saying, well, we're going to do it next year and next year. No, I'm not going to be okay with that. We went 10 years without a property tax increase at all. And whatever we set today should be a pretty good target for another 10 years. It'd be tough to do, but I'm for doing what we're gonna do now and moving on, but not burden this city with another property tax in next year or the year after, or probably the year after. I'm not for doing that. I'm not for doing it. I don't think that's fair to the city taxpayers.
Well,
I can live with 45 and move on, and that might pretty well do a lot of what we need to get done. Not everything, but a lot. And that'll put us at $1.95, is that right? Put us $1.95. Not a good number, but it's not certainly a number like some of the other folks gonna be looking at this year, a long ways from it. So I've come from 70, I've come down to 50, and I'm willing to go with 45. It seems like to me that should be a consensus on something to look at and move on. Hey, if we do that, at least it's keeping another $2,
true.
you know?
But it's hard to go from where we are now to 70 cents. Yes, we're coming back the other way, but for the taxpayers, the property owners, you know, I think in a few years, I don't think we should wait 10 years and come back. It's easier to take a little bit at a time as it is a big, you know, step in 10 years. It's like, oh, we're just catching up. So, but we can poll the board, see what everybody thinks.
I'm for doing what we're gonna do this year and not telling the city we're gonna burden you next year or the next year either with another property tax. I'm for doing enough to kind of to get by for now. You know, a lot of people, here's how a lot of people look. They'll say, well, you should do 5% a year or 5 cents a year or whatever and build it up. Well, there's a plus side, but there's a big minus side to that to the taxpayer. Because if we had started 10 years ago adding 5 cents a year, the taxpayer would have been paying that all along and would have already paid out all that money. So the shock factor of doing it this way is kind of tough, but of trying to do a little every year and build up, we're taking those taxpayers' money every single year, and they done paid those taxes in. At least the way we did this year, that didn't happen. So I can live with 45 if that's what it takes to settle it out and make it work.
Anybody else?
I would prefer the 50, but I'd be okay with.
We have to be at, Jamie is saying we have to be at 45 to come out of the deficit, correct?
I'm good at 45.
That's what I'm good at 45.
Sounds good.
I'd like to say just one thing on this, and I think the 45 will be okay. But I just want to say, you know, we as taxpayers, and I'm going to speak directly to the people that's here right now, is your fire department, your police department, your public works, these people that are asking for these things, you know, they do a lot, not just for the city, but for yourselves, myself, these people up here. And, you know, just because a person comes and picks up garbage at 2 a.m. in the morning in the rain, snow, sleet, you know, just because they're picking up trash doesn't mean that they are trash. And so we're trying our best to get these people where they need to be because they're up at 2:30 in the morning doing a job that nobody wants to do. Same with the fire department. You know, the fire department gets out 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning. I know I've been out there with them and very, excuse my French, well, I can't say that because we're getting recorded, but just very bad situations out on these calls. And if we don't help these fire department and this police department, who's going to come and take care of these situations when we need them? I've worked many calls where Tony and Davey have showed up, and it's just them. Hey, what are y'all doing here? Well, we're it. When they say that, that scares me. That should scare you. That there's nobody coming to help because they don't have anybody there because of this situation, because of the pay. Now, I'm the type of person that I do my job because I love it, and I know they do their job because they love it too. But we're in a time where money is making the world go round, and with inflation that has brought everything up,
People can't live on $12.68 an hour. They just can't, not anymore. I started out making $11 as a paramedic. I'm sure Miss Dorothy over here made about $18 an hour back in a while back. I don't want to think that. I'm sorry.
Exactly.
But it's just the way inflation is. It's just the way that it has come up, and we're working on this stuff to try to get this where it is, because these are the people that work for y'all. These are y'all's people that work for y'all. And so if we can settle on this 45, and y'all were okay with the 45, I think that would be something that would be good to ask y'all. But y'all can put this wherever y'all want to put it. But this is where I think we have come to a safe adjournment on it, I think.
Well, I will say and follow up on what you said, because you made a good point. There will be a public hearing on this.
Yes, there
That
will.
is when the people get to speak. There will be a public hearing, and that is when the people get
At
to
the
speak.
town hall, is that correct?
No, it's a public hearing.
Public
Oh, public
hearings.
hearing.
By state
June the
law,
13th.
on budgets and property tax increases, there's got to be a public hearing.
Okay.
There'll be a public hearing on whatever we decide to
June
do,
the 13th.
June 13th.
whenever, so.
June 13th.
June
June
13th.
13th at 4:30. June 14th, 4:30, that's when the public can speak. 13th, I'm sorry. June 13th at 4:30 is here in this
So
building.
we meet an hour, half hour early?
Yes, that's what we voted on,
Okay.
yeah. And that's when the public can speak, and you've heard today, how we've gone back and forth, where the money is going to go, where your tax increase would go. This is not official 45 cents right now. We will have to vote on this after the public hearing, when the public speaks. Then we will convene as our regular board meeting for the month of June, and at that time is when the official vote will be taken. So, anybody else on the board? Jamie, do we have anything else that we need to address in this budget? This is the final budget hearing. This makes number 4 that we've had. So we've kicked numbers around on the outside agencies, on operating, on what each department needs, what each department has agreed upon, and where we were from last year. So
And we don't want to massage any of these other things that we talked about in the past. Any of the nonprofits.
what do you?
I think we passed all that.
We're good.
Yeah, we done passed all that.
Can't do anything about it and stay where we are without coming out of deficit somewhere.
Anything else from the board?
I'm good with 45.
If not, we'll be adjourned this meeting, and we'll see y'all on June 13th.